Okay. Hey guys, welcome to Gentlemen of Leisure. Mario is back from, I think it was about maybe a month ago. He was in Mexico and they were discussing Mexico and the economy. So, Mario, let us hear a little bit about Mexico.
Yeah, so I spent about 3 weeks in Mexico. I broke down in a little town called Ciudad Constitucion, and I was down hard for 11 days. And I didn't know it was going to be 11 days. So my transmission exploded, and I had to get parts from Guadalajara, Mexico, flown up to La Paz, and then bust a couple hundred miles up the peninsula to this little tiny one horse town. And I didn't know how long that was going to take. It ended up being 11 days, but there's a poet from Florida who used to race sailboats, and he was up on the East Coast one year racing from Newport, Rhode Island to Bermuda. And he just kind of talked about, he kind of wrote a song and talked about this experience of getting on this boat and not knowing how long it would take him to get to Bermuda and just having to like ride it out. And there was like, they were trying to race these low, northeast, these low pressure systems, nor'easterns down to Bermuda, and it's just these crazy seas and nauseousness. And he was like, I could be doing anything right now. Why am I out stuck in the middle of the Atlantic trying to race the sailboat for something? It doesn't even make any sense. But he kind of put something together, and it kind of reminded me of, or this experience in Mexico kind of reminded me of that poet's experience out in the middle of the Atlantic. But I wrote it out. I successfully fixed my truck, not speaking a lot of Spanish, and then the mechanics in town didn't speak a lot of English. We found the parts and put it all back together and got back on the road. But it was an adventure. It was a complete adventure and a super interesting trip. Got to catch a striped marlin. Got to watch my nephew catch a striped marlin. My nephew also caught a 40.3 pound Dorado mahi mahi, and we caught a tuna also. But it was a great trip. He got to do a dive in Cabo San Lucas. We get to go to the Hotel California in Todos Santos. It was a great trip, but yeah, it was down hard for 11 days in a little one horse town. So that was quite the adventure. How's your summer going, Warner?
It's going well. I just want to talk about, I think you brought something really, really important in terms of Gentlemen of Leisure. Gentlemen of Leisure is not just laying back on your couch, plying yourself full of beers and getting your dumpster muffin out to here, which is that belly. That's what we call your dumpster muffin or your dumpster, whatever. It's about having cash flow and challenging yourself. That's the key. Is you can have all the money in the world. I see these older people and they have a lot of money. They just don't take care of their bodies. Their guts are large, and you can tell they're just kind of sad. But you can see the people that have good amount of wealth and they're fit and they're going out and doing things, having adventures. They're an inspiration to everyone else. So that's a key. There's two sort of components of Gentlemen of Leisure, which is cash flow and then challenging yourself to live well, your body, your mind, your spirit, the whole thing. So in terms of my summer right now, we're just working on a real estate project, 20 units. It's near Santa Monica, California. That's a full-time job, like 14 to 16-hour days, up at 6 in the morning, done at about 8. We were at the property last night till 8. And but here's the thing, it's not the work is fun if you're like in charge of it and you're creating something and you like it. So that's what I've been focused on, is sort of more the business end of it, and then on the weekends going on fun trips. And I'd like to add something. I'd like you to talk a little bit about. We should have talked about this in the subject line, but this dumpster muffin. What are you seeing in terms of how to avoid getting the dumpster muffin?
Yeah. So, well, Mexico was, I didn't, you know, truth be told, I didn't see an attractive woman in Mexico the entire time I traveled through there. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in Cabo San Lucas. So that could have been part of the issue. But I mean, they like their tortillas and their carbohydrates. There's a you have the ability, when you have wealth, you have the ability to overeat. And there's nothing, we live in a society where there's nothing pushing us every day to have an adventure or to suffer or to really have to expend a lot of energy. You can really just get in your car, go through the drive-through and get your latte, go to the job site or your office and sit all day and be sedentary, eat a big lunch, come back home, eat a big dinner, have a dessert, go to sleep. I mean, there's nothing forcing Americans, most wealthy Westerners don't have anything in their life forcing them to exercise or to really suffer. We don't work on farm. We don't do farm work. At best, we do simulated farm work in a gym by picking up heavy things and setting them down. But yeah, there's definitely the ability to overeat and under exercise, and that delta of too many calories and not enough expenditure of calories produces guys and women that just have enormous waistlines in proportion to their chest and shoulders and neck. And there's a Marine Corps standard that, like it or hate it, it produces pretty fit people. And you can look that up online about what your neck measurement in relation to your waist should be. And we call it height and weight appropriate. So it's a formula. It has to do, it's not exact, it's not going to give you an exact body percentage, but you're going to be somewhere south of 20% body fat, and you're going to enjoy life. The reality is you'll enjoy it. You'll be healthier, you'll live longer, and you'll enjoy life more if you're fit. Versus being.
Mario, I don't know if you're done. You went out for a second on your end. I think.
Hope it caught it.
Hope I hope it did. Great points. It makes me think about Wim Hof, because what does Wim Hof talk about? He talks about not being in homeostasis, getting out in a cold environment, getting out in a hot environment. And I think what we kind of miss nowadays when we look at social media, we look at wealth, we see this lifestyle of just complete leisure. And it's a trap, because if you're just doing complete leisure all the time, you're getting overweight, you're getting your skin's looking bad, your health, your mental capabilities are dropping. It doesn't lead to sort of like a fresh, lively, colorful life, because, as you said, Mario, you're not challenging yourself, you're not keeping your body at optimal levels for optimal mind, uh, optimal complexion of your skin, everything. And I think that's one thing we're talking about here in Gentlemen of Leisure. It's not just about like enjoying, your cash flow, your wealth by just sitting on a couch and relaxing all day. That's a component of it, but it's about getting out there and being active every day, whether it's a walk, a workout,
That's right.
you're working on your sailboat, you're skiing. And there's a fine line. Like, there's some people that love to do ultra marathons, like that guy David Goggins. Now, I'm not into ultra marathons. I'd rather just walk for that amount of time and enjoy nature as I'm going. But everyone's got there's sort of different flavor what life looks like for them. But what I've seen is like, especially like here in Los Angeles, people get hooked on weed, they get hooked on drinking, they get hooked on just watching Netflix all the time. I get caught on that a little bit, and that does not lead to like a gentleman of leisure. Because what you find is there's like a, I don't know, like a balance, and leisure will sort of get knocked off out of balance if you're not balancing it with good eating, exerting effort, working on your business. So it's a whole around thing. And you see the guys, like a great example would be Grant Cardone. That guy's like killing it on all.
I would have said Larry Ellison. You look at
Or Larry Ellison. Yeah, go ahead.
boat races. Yeah, some of the yachtsmen are really focused on winning those races. And you and I saw some guys up in Ventura Harbor. We were going to look at that Dachau, and we saw a couple guys in their 70s, and they just look. You could just tell they owned a boat. They owned probably a very nice sailboat, and they just looked fit. They got good vitamin D. They were exercising. They were focused on winning boat races and not sitting around being a lethargic, wealthy guy with a gut.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So we're visually looking at other individuals. As an example, we learned this in the Marine Corps. You look at different senior officers to see who's the one that's leading with compassion, who's the one that's leading, he actually cares about you, right? We had certain officers that they only cared about getting promoted, and you could see them from a mile away. That's important, because as you're building your wealth, or you're focused on becoming a gentleman of leisure, it's all about looking at other individuals that have gone ahead of you. And that's usually older people, whether, depending on your age range. If you're 20, it could be 30, 40, 50, 60-year olds. Look at each one, each range, and look at the ones. A key telltale sign is they're confident, they're fit, They have a lot of energy. You want that energy when you're around them. That's what you're looking for. And just start looking, how do they lead their life? What actions are they taking? You'll see it. Like I'm constantly watching. When we had our RV, I was watching the RV park. What I realized is I'm not really into the RV world per se, in terms of staying in an RV park every, I don't know, every day, because you have individuals that are just there to drink, to relax. You have older individuals that are letting themselves go. There's a lot of sitting. Now there are a select few, but you start seeing what people are doing with their down. Now I get it. They're only hanging out on the weekends, but then when those weekends extend to weeks, to months, that's where you start having issues. And I noticed in that RV world wasn't necessarily the type of people that I want to be around all the time. I'd rather be more of like an earth roamer, or like what Mario's got, where I'm out with very active people, where I'm driving on backcountry roads. Uh, it's really what works for you. But I modeled, I mean, I got to see what one subset of people looks like in terms of the RV world. And then there's an overland world, which is very adventurous outdoor individuals, a lot of ex-military, a lot of outdoor adventurous. So it's kind of like looking at your lifestyle and incorporating fitness, vitality, and looking at who's sort of mirroring where you want to get to.
And it really comes down to, you know, how much alcohol these people are drinking at night and what they want to do in the morning. If you look at people that are racing sailboats or adventuring, they're getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they're getting ready to go execute some sort of adventure or some sort of race. Where people in an RV park, you look at their garbage disposal and they're full of beer cans and wine and other bottles of hard alcohol, and you're like, okay, they're not going to be getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go execute some sort of mission or race. They're working off that headache, and it might just start with one drink a week. I'm only drinking Friday nights, but then that ruins your Saturday, and then it's Saturday nights and Sunday. Okay, I'm only drinking on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then that bleeds over into the. You don't feel right until Wednesday, the next week. So I think alcohol consumption is a big part of that lifestyle. If you're drinking every night, you're going to be putting on weight, and it's just kind of it's a road that leads down there to that lethargic or sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah, and as I said before, it's not everyone that's in an RV park. Like I was in an RV park in Ventura, and the guy across from me is doing Ironman. It's him and his wife, but that was a very small subset. And the guy next to me was a power lineman. He was working on those big, really tall power lines. It's you see stretching down
High
country roads.
tension, yeah, high tension power
Yeah.
lines.
So I guess what Mara and I, where we're going, so we're not just rambling on too much, is we're talking about, as you're building a life that's devoted to gentlemen of leisure, look at the individuals that, the key thing is look at the individuals that have vitality at like 70 and 80. Look at like the end of their life and look at individuals like Larry Ellison, Richard Branson. Now, it doesn't mean spiritually idolize these guys. You take, how are they successful in sort of living their lives in terms of making money and sort of enjoying life. Those are two individuals that come to mind. Even more so, I would say Larry Ellison, because you can tell Richard Branson, he looks like he's in great shape, but you can tell he parties a little bit too much because of the complexion of his skin. Whereas Larry Ellison, you can tell he's got tighter skin, he's looks more vitality, and basically he just looks like he's taking better care of himself. So you're kind of like looking at these different individuals and seeing, who's eating the best, who has the most vitality, and then once you find those individuals, find out how they got there.
So going forward, I've got 38 days planned to go into the backcountry and hunt this fall. Still there, Warner?
Yeah, I am just switching screens.
Okay, so I got two 14-day hunts for mule deer up in the eastern Sierra Nevada mountain range. And then I've got a 10-day bear hunt planned. So 38 days of adventure travel. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just yelling, I was yelling at Layla. I thought I was on mute. Go ahead.
All right. So yeah, I've got about 38 days of backcountry hunting planned for this fall, as just a continuation of this summer, is to continue to go out there and to have vacation, but do it in a way that's challenging. And I'm gonna suffer a little bit hiking out a 200-pound mule deer 8 miles out of the backcountry. I'm gonna suffer a little bit, but it's a test, and I enjoy it. At the end of it, it's something that's called like type 2 fun. It's fun once it's over. Once it's complete, you really enjoy the experience. Once it's over, while you're doing it, it's a challenge and it's difficult. But once it's over, it's like an accomplishment. But are you still planning on heading out to Wyoming and then Hawaii?
Yeah, so basically, we'll be done with this project, I would say 1 November or a little after, and then take a car out to Wyoming, drop it off, pick up another car, bring it back to California, and the goal is to go out to Hawaii and then do some island hopping to look for a place to set up shop out there, meaning buy some land, look for a little compound where you can grow food and whatnot. And so we'll probably hit like Maui, Kauai, Oahu, Big Island, some other islands. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, that's about it. So just sort of living life, guys. The key is once you, Mara and I have been talking about this for 10 years. Once you create cash flow, because I was talking to one of my friends the other day, I won't name names, but he was focused more on investing for equity appreciation. And basically what that is you're investing on human behavior that someone's going to pay more for something that you own, like an equity or a real estate asset or a car. And that's just not, Amar, in my opinion, is a long-term strategy for success. Cash flow is a long-term strategy for success because that proves you that a business is actually performing and making money. And when you have a bunch of what I would call cash flow blocks, where you have these little blocks, like whether it's hundreds of apartment units or hundreds of shares, and each one of them is paying a little bit of cash flow and the cash flow is growing, it all starts like stacking up. And that's how you can do what Mara and I are doing, which is going to Mexico, which is going back to Wyoming, which is going to Hawaii. And it's really interesting because most people, including my family, they don't, it's just something that's like an enigma to me, that how it's so simple, the concept, yet most people don't get it. And they just keep going down this road of more just working for the man, paying taxes, and not taking the cash flow and pumping the assets that pay you to own it.
But the hardest part is getting the snowball rolling. It was to get to that. For me, it was to get to where I was making $12,000 a year passively, and I was like, "Oh boy, I'm in it now. I've got $1,000 a month coming in passively. That's all my gas, that's all my groceries, and that's a bunch of like adventure travel for hunting, skiing, and fishing per month." And I thought that for me, and that was hard. That was like a decade of work, deploying and saving and investing to get to that $12,000 a year in passive income. I look back at that, I'm like, that's not enough to survive on. But it was like, that was the hardest part, was to go from nothing to $12,000. I remember when I crossed that mark, I was like, I calculated I was getting $1,000 a month in my bank account passively. And that, for me, I was like, it's rolling now. And it snowballs. That was like, for me, that was getting the snowball to critical mass, where it was now its own energy. I didn't have to push the snowball down the hill anymore. The energy of the snowball is now speeding up as it's going down. It's collecting more snow. It's getting heavier, and it's continuing to roll without a lot of effort. I don't have to push as hard. But that first $12,000 to get to the assets to produce that first $12,000 a year of passive income was me like pushing the snowball uphill. It was very challenging personally to get there. So I think that's why most people never get there.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at 95% of people, they're not successful in their lives to the level that I would say success is relative to each individual, but they're not successful because they're not, I would say, and we're not basing this all on money. What I'm saying is that because they're using maybe 5% of their potential.
No, if you do one push-up, you've eclipsed 4 million men in this country, maybe 50 million men. If you just did one push-up today, you've had a better day of physical fitness. You've challenged yourself physically more than maybe 100 million men in this country. If you did one push-up, the bar is so low, $12,000. If you were able to produce assets that have $12,000 of passive income per year, you've eclipsed millions and millions of men in this country. The bar is, you're really only competing against yourself. The bar is incredibly low for physical fitness, for a lot of different attributes of gentlemen of leisure. The bar is incredibly low. You're having to do 15 minutes of work each day in a gym, and you've eclipsed 95% of dudes if you can go to the gym for 15, 20 minutes to get a workout in every day.
Yep. So on that note, that's a great point, guys. It's about like creating $1 in free cash flow a day, doing a push-up a day. Start very small. Build the building block approach. Like when I started in real estate, started with a house, then a fourplex. But anyways, the young guys are up, man. I've got to roll. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.